All right, we will. Welcome. We'll call the Senate Appropriations Committee to order. Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Yes, sir. Senator Guru.
Here.
Senator Hicks.
Excused.
Senator Kinski.
Here.
Senator Steinmetz.
Excused.
Chairman Perkins.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. First bill for our consideration is Senate File 57, Chancery Court Amendments. I think we talked about this. We know what it is. All it does is it rolls back the timetable for the appointment of the judge. Is there anybody here to testify? Any questions or anybody here to testify on Senate File 57? Anybody here to testify on Senate File 57? All right. Any amendments from the committee? Any amendments or comments from the committee? All right. Let's call the roll.
On Senate File 57, Senator Guru.
Aye.
Senator Hicks.
Choose.
Senator Kinski.
Aye.
Senator Steinmetz.
Excused.
Chairman Perkins.
Aye.
3 aye, 2 excused.
All right. Sure, go ahead. Thank you. You did such a good job just 5 minutes ago. That'd be great. So next bill for our consideration is Senate File 58, Wyoming Council for Women's Issues Workforce Services. All we're doing is moving that from the the Wyoming Business Council over to the Department of Workforce Services, along with the money. Is there anyone here to testify or any comments from any questions from any members? Is there anybody here to testify on Senate File 58? Hello, Bill. Come on up.
Mr. Chairman, Bill Winnie, Sublette County. I support the bill. I think it's a good idea to move this over into the Department of Workforce Services. And my perspective is some years ago, I saw my wife take on a school district over poor treatment. And I think this will add better perspective to the Department of Workforce Services. And thus I support it and recommend you all pass it.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate that. And if you want to know why that's a good home for it, all I have to do is look at the executive leadership of the Wyoming Workforce Services, and you know this is a good home for it. We have that department is led by dynamic women who do a great job. So thank you. Thank you. Anyone else here to testify on Senate File 58? Anyone else here to testify on Senate File 58? All right, with that, we'll go ahead and close public testimony.
No amendments for me.
Any amendments? Any amendments? And just checking, there's nobody in the room, is there? All right.
No, sir.
Fair enough. All right, let's go ahead and call the roll on Senate File 58.
But for general purposes, can I have someone to claim it as being moved?
Moved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second.
That was the same on the last one too. I just did
Yeah.
it quietly.
that to Rose Rule.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Senator, on Senate.
We
File-
did it telepathically on the first one. Do we
I-
need to
I
go back and
anticipate-
correct the record on that?
No, we do not. It'll be
Okay,
fine.
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Senator Guru.
Aye.
Senator Hicks excused. Senator Kinski.
Aye.
Senator Steinmetz excused. Chairman Perkins.
Aye.
3 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. I just feel better if we did that. Let's go back to Senate File 57.
Move
And could we have a move?
Move the bill.
Second.
All right. And, all right, so then let's go ahead and recall the roll. I just want the record. I don't want, you'd hate for this to just not happen because we didn't follow.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Especially when you have such a good constitutional attorney sitting in the.
All right. First, Senate File 57. Senator Guru.
Aye.
Senator Hicks excused. Senator Kinski.
Aye.
Senator Steinmetz excused. Chairman Perkins.
Aye.
3 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. Next bill for our consideration, Senate File 59, Game and Fish Fund Investments. This was at the request of my understanding was the Wyoming Game and Fish Commission. They wanted us to go over there so they, at their election, can decide if they invest portions of their reserve fund into the Pool A. So with that, we're more than happy to take, is there testimony on Senate File 59? Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm John Kennedy, Deputy Director with the Wyoming Game and Fish Department. Thanks for the opportunity to be here today. I've spoke with you and testified to this committee in the past about this bill. So I won't go into the history, but it's pretty straightforward. As you know, that Game and fish funds are currently invested into two accounts, into the Pool A account and into the state agency pool account. And currently, the Game and Fish Commission can only invest one fund in Pool A right now, which is the Commission's Wildlife Trust Fund Corpus. And so simply put, this bill would allow the Wyoming Game and Fish Commission to have more flexibility to invest some of their operating fund dollars into an account that could, in the future, yield a better return.
Or present losses, but they'll deal with
Correct.
that, right? And upside and downside. Okay. Any questions for our good friends from Game and Fish? Okay, thank you. Are there any other testimony? Anyone else here to testify on Senate File 59? Anyone else here to testify on Senate File 59? All right. Anything from the members? Members, what's your pleasure?
Move the bill.
And been moved and seconded. Any amendments? There being none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
On Senate File 59, Senator Guru,
Aye.
Senator Hicks,
Aye.
Senator Kinski,
Aye.
Senator Steinmetz, Chairman Perkins,
All right.
5 aye.
right.
Mr. Chairman, who's to carry this one and who's to carry 58? I presume Senator Steinmetz on 58, since she presented on the floor.
Are you good with that, Senator Steinmetz? And Mr. Vice President, do you want to handle Game and Fish? Okay, all right, thank you. All right. Last bill for our consideration this afternoon is Senate File 39, Fireman's Pension Plan Benefits. So with that, it's been a little bit longer since we went through this bill, but as we know, this is helps fix a long time deficiency in Fireman A. And so basically, if I remember right, we've got $75 million, which 20 million is being advanced on behalf of the districts and municipalities and counties that participated in this and had participants in it to be paid back over 20 years with no interest, and also required a reduction in future benefits for plan participants. With that, anyone here to testify on Senate File 39?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Senator Kinski.
Also, there was an elimination of the 3% COLA. What section of the bill was that? I'm not finding it. Oh, there it is, page 10. I got it.
Got it?
Thank you.
Thanks for double checking. All right, so we're on Senate File 39. Is there anyone who'd like to testify on Senate File 39? Anyone who'd like to testify on Senate File 30? Come on up. Glad to have you, Mr. Applegate. Good to see you. It's good. It's nice. I'm glad you're not here to talk about inspection rates.
Mike?
It's on. Just pull it, just lean it towards you. It's on. Just lean it towards you there.
How's that?
I have my hearing aids in today, so I'm good. So yeah.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, first off, I'm Lanny Applegate. I'm representing the Ball Fire, EMS, and Search and Rescue Board, and also the Wyoming Fire Chiefs. And first off, I already said it first off, but I want you to know that our board, the fire chiefs, fully support what you guys are trying to do for Plan A. We're 100% behind Plan A. Those folks are worked a lot of hard years. They've earned it. And so we're backing that. But we'd like to make an amendment to the bill as it sits today. And with that, can I hand these out, Mr. Chairman?
Sure. I think you hand them to Karen and she'll take care of it for us. Thank you.
Anybody else out there needs one?
Go ahead, Lanny.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, on page 11, where it starts talking about the fire premium tax going for Vol Fire from 100% down to 60%. The way the statute reads today, it reads in there that 100% of that premium tax will go in there until we reach 107%. And 107% is what the legislature said many years ago, become whole. So we're asking you to put amendment in there on page 11, line 12. And to start that out with, it says effective July 1st, 2028. And talking to the folks at Wyoming Retirement, and they've talked to the actuaries, that we feel that we should be at that 107% by that date. And also, I'd like to mention that the last 40% that we've got out of that fire premium tax, that our volunteers have upped their contributions by at least 50% to get that 40%. We're trying to fund over 4,000 volunteers with this fund. And we weren't aware of this even being talked in when the JAC was meeting. Otherwise, we'd have been here then. We had no idea. I have talked to Director Swindell numerous times, Wyoming Retirement. He has assured me that, of course, we all know what markets do up and down, but he's assured me that if markets remains relatively stable like it's been doing over the last couple of years, that whether that 40% is front loaded to the Plan A folks, or if it goes on after July 1, 2028, it will not affect the Plan A fire pensions at all. They'll still get the same pension then as they would today if we put it on, if we front load it. So we're asking you to not front load that 40%. Let us keep it just like the statute reads today. And I guess I'd answer any questions you may have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Senator Kiske.
I guess my question is where you've been. I mean, I know you said you just heard about this, but I've heard from the volunteers before this. This has been a long time getting this bill put together.
I understand
And
it.
I'm reluctant to make any changes to it until our staff has looked. I hear Mr. Swindell saying whatever he told you, but there are so many people that work so hard to get this bill to this point that I am very reluctant to amend it. Very reluctant. Now, if our staff takes a look at it and says this delay somehow doesn't make the legislature have to put instead 55 million in, 65 million in, I need our staff to look at this before I can support this.
Yeah.
This is an important bill. We got to keep it moving.
So just following up, Lanny, so when we talk about that, how much is being contributed through the gross premium tax now? What is that? What's the biannual number on that, if you know?
The percentage?
No, the amount, total amounts.
2 million? 2
About-
million.
About 5 million a year.
But that 40% amount to over 2 million.
Okay. And is there, okay. And so 6% of that number is obviously 3 million. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So about 3 million a year. That's what, so this would delay that $12 million over the first 3 years, or the first several years anyway. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Senator Kinsky, we were fully aware what you guys were trying to do with Plan A. All the way through there with the 55 million there. The 40% came at the tail end there. And we weren't aware of that. And you say, why didn't we get a hold of you earlier? Mr. Chairman, I had actually sent yourself a email requesting to meet with you guys when this first happened, and never got no correspondence back. So we did reach out. So it's not that I'm trying to blindside you. We tried to reach out. And like I say, we're trying to support over 4,000 people. We brought,
Right, but right now your fund is funded at 102,
no,
then 100 was 98.
where are we at, Dave?
Come on, Dave.
I thought I could. What was I?
I get my information from him, so.
Oh, you're just the messenger. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, my name is David Swindell. I'm the Executive Director of the Wyoming Retirement System. To answer the question, the volunteer fund on January 1st, 2021, about a year ago, was rated at 78% funded.
Okay.
It'll probably go to between 81 and 83% funded when we do the calculations as of 1 January 2022, just a few weeks ago. The actuaries developed that information. They're working on it now. The fund's on pace to be fully funded by 2028. They'll hit 100%
Okay.
by the projections.
Yes.
Is that under the assumption that all the fire premium taxes going in there, or is that under the assumptions that are built into this legislation of some of this fire?
Let me be clear. Under the status quo, which means about $5 million a year flowing in, 100% of the premium tax, the volunteer fund will hit 100% at 2028. It's pretty robust. It's only 78% funded today, but its speed is very good with this flow of money. If the bill is enacted as drafted at Senate File 39, 40% of that money is diverted. That's about $2 million a year. The volunteer fund would still hit 100%, but it's delayed. They won't hit 100% until 2034, about a 6-year delay. If the Fire A solution hits 100% funding for Fire A in 2037. And after that, it gets a little unstable because it actually grows quite quickly from there because the population gets quite small. And that flow of $2 million a year is pretty substantial compared to the eventual pension benefits. So you can get to
Right. And
150% pretty quick within a few years. So anyway, if the 40% is delayed until 2028, the volunteer fund basically is status quo. They achieve full funding in 2028. What happens to the Senate File 39 plan?
what is it? What is it in 30 years? Fireman or the volunteer in EMT. What is that? And what's the 30-year?
The projections right now are they'll hit between 220 and 238%. They'll be very well funded.
All right, thank you.
And then finally, what happens to Senate File 39 if the amendment were to be adopted? It detracts a little bit from the robustness of the solution. Fire A won't hit 100% until 2051. It's a 14-year delay from the bill as drafted. On the other hand, at that point, as I described earlier, the funding percentages get a little weird because the numbers of pensioners get pretty small, and maybe that's not important. It's a policy decision. As Senator Kitsky pointed out, an awful lot of work was done on this bill. I really appreciate the work of all 5 senators in the room, as well as all the representatives that worked on this. So amendments are tough, just as Senator Kitsky said. On the other hand, it's not an unreasonable ask, and it would hold the volunteers whole, and it wouldn't detract, I would say, unreasonably from the solution, but that's in the eyes of the beholder. It's a policy decision.
Right, and so since so what we're talking about is in between now and 2028, there's $2 million a year roughly that $2 million a year that does not get deposited into fireman A for the next 5 years.
Yeah, your understanding is correct.
Yeah.
And you could also split the baby. I've got numbers for that if you want to get into that. Do it 3
I
years.
mean, at
but-
the end of the day, when we look at the 30-year, numbers, which is kind of the standard, I mean, firemen, the volunteer EMT is well-funded. We will continue to watch it. And I think we'll see like we say, if with a little bit of luck, knock on wood, that the fireman A, we have some other stable years as we invest this money. Very soon we'll be able to go back and divert this back wherever it needs to go. Is the way I think that the goals. I mean, what we all know is that even $4 million a year for the next several years has a tremendous amount of effect over the next 30.
That's right. You understand the compounding effects of this. I would mention while I'm on the mic, we did have a very good year last year. For the calendar year ended December 31st, just FYI, the retirement system earned 17.19%. On the other hand,
Inflation's
January was a little rough.
Inflation always helps investments. It doesn't, it's where the spending power.
Yeah, so markets vary. And that's the nature of projections. And I think Senator Hicks and at least one of the Herons spoke pretty eloquently on that. And you have a good understanding.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Anything else, Lenny?
Well, Mr. Chairman, you obviously know what that fund is. It's a volunteer fire, search and rescue, and the EMTs. You know, we were sitting, we're good one, just Vault Fire. Well, then we were asked to take and bring on the EMTs. So we turned it down 1 year, we accepted the following year. And then here just a couple of years ago, if you guys recall, we were asked to take on search and rescue. Again, another liability, but we did that. And in order to do that, again, we upped our contributions. Because one of the things that we were told by the legislators is you guys got to have more skin in the game, and we're okay with it. So we did, we put more skin in the game, and now we're losing that 40%.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I don't know that the intent was to put you farther behind. I think actually what we looked at that on several scenarios. Bringing more people on, people contribute into it, may have actually helped the fund, but I would ask Director Swindell. See, my recollection is that was part of the discussion at the time.
It's pretty stable right now.
Just clarify that for me.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Hicks, your understanding's correct. This plan is a little different than the traditional pension plan. It's for volunteers. It does require taxpayer support. There's no wages to have the normal contribution deducted from. They're volunteers. There's no wages. If you add people to the plan, it is kind of more mouths to feed. That's a true perspective. On the other hand, the amount of premium tax going in has been growing with inflation and so on. And it is an adequate flow. And when you bring on the EMTs and the search and rescue people, there were estimates done by the actuary as to how many of those folks would sign up and when, how fast would the growth be. Those estimates were pretty robust. They estimated pretty generously, and we've kind of underachieved on all those metrics in terms of adding new members or mouths to feed, however you want to look at it. And so the plan is still continues to be well funded. So I think when you look at it, it's true that this plan does need support, but also the flow continues to increase a little bit too. So it's 60% of what? The what is growing. And it's growing fast enough to maintain the stability of the volunteer fund. If you do take the 40% in 2022, as this bill just suggests, it wounds the progress of the volunteer fund, but they're still on a good track to get funded by 2034. They would, of course, be preferred 2028. Of course they would. I understand that.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Lanny?
I don't know what else I can ask, Mr. Chairman, other than just for your consideration.
Well, and we appreciate that, Lanny, and you have our commitment that as you all know, and as the director knows we take a hard look at these, all the pension plans every year now, just trying to make sure, and we'll keep an eye on these things because it's vital that those trend lines be in the right direction and that we have the full funding within the 30-year period. And so we're gonna stay true to that commitment. And so we appreciate this. We recognize your issues and we will keep a very close eye on this as it all goes forward, regardless.
We'll see you next year.
You bet. Because we don't want another fireman.
Well, that's one of the reasons we wanted to do this. We don't want two Plan A's. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Lanny? Thank you, Mr. Applegate. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Anyone else to testify? Go ahead.
Really quick. My name is Pat Crank and I represent the retired firefighter. Wyoming, large majority of all the Fire A retirees. I speak in favor of Senate File 39 and against Mr. Applegate's amendment. What we just heard from Mr. Swindell, excuse me, is if we take the 40%, it pushes their actuarially 100% funding by 6 years. If you do not put that in Fire A, it pushes Fire A's 100% actuarially being funded. That's a hard thing to say. 15 years. And Mr. Applegate talks about the increase in benefits that his members paid, and that's true, but it went from $12 to $18.75. And that, I guess, in exchange for the 40% of the fire premium tax they gained, which is $2 million a year, they paid an extra $6.75. So I agree with Senator Kinski that there's been a lot of work, a lot of sweat, a lot of blood shed on this bill. And I would ask the committee not to adopt Mr. Applegate's amendment. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Crank? Do you have any questions for Mr.? No, I'm not kidding, man.
Well, I was just gonna say, Plan A guys got invited to the party. We did. We understand that. Thank you. All right, thank you. Anyone else to testify on Senate File 39? Anyone else to testify on Senate File 39? Thank you, Lanny. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. That being no, we'll go ahead and anybody in the waiting room, we'll check one more time. All right, we'll go ahead and close off public discussion. Members, what's your pleasure?
Move the bill.
Bill's been moved by Senator Kinski, seconded by Vice President Hicks. Are there any amendments to the bill? Any amendments to the bill? All right, let's call the roll.
Thank you. On Senate File 39, Senator Guru. Senator Hicks.
Aye.
Senator Kinski.
Aye.
Senator Steinmetz. Chairman Perkins.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may have a little bit of grace, I do think the volunteers have a point, so I will work on a conceptual amendment that at the time that the fireman A count is done and the last pensioner is no longer in that account at that point. Our premium tax, the equivalent that we've taken out of this account. And the reason to do that is because we'll not be here in 30 or 40 years. Don't put it in there. There'll be no institutional memory.
Speak for yourself.
Mr. Chairman, I'm cognizant of the fact that some of my colleagues think they're going to live forever, but the simple fact is actuarially, if I may, that's a high and unlikely probability. But I do think there's a fairness issue that if we're going to borrow that, we should pay back.
Fair enough. We'll look for that on committee of the whole or whenever you choose to present that. I think that's fair enough. And I think, I don't have a problem with that conceptually. I think the other thing that we know is that it's, when you look at the actuarial tables for Fire A, they go for a long time, but common sense tells you that that's not what's going to happen. And what'll happen is, so we can do that actuarially, but the trigger will be a lot sooner than that. And so as we watch that, I mean, we'll see what that trigger, when you can come and let that diversion go, will happen, I think, a lot quicker. But of course, it depends on the Fed and the stock market and Congress and all those things. So we'll see what happens, but having, legislature having been caught not watching these things closely a little over a decade ago, now we watch them very closely because we know how hard it is to fix these things when they go awry. So, yes, go ahead.
I'd agree with Senator Hicks, and I'm all for the volunteers, the EMTs. I've spent a lot of time working on those concerns. And as I told Mr. Applegate, if I can find any way to help them out, short of upsetting the delicate balance that's gotten this bill this far, we'll do it. And I'll work with Senator Hicks on that amendment as well.
Yeah, it all comes down to the fact that having this money up front is a lot more sensitive in Fire A than diverting this for a while and then having to go back to fire to the EMT and volunteer fire department later. There's a huge dramatic effect because dollars now are a lot worth more, particularly in firemen, are a lot worth more now than they are a little bit. And so we're going to take care of your folks, Lanny, and it's going to be okay. And we're going to keep a close eye on that, and we'll work on this so it's got an automatic trigger. But like I say, at the end of the day, I think it'll be a little bit sooner than this trigger will be. I think we'll be manually making that switch back sooner, but we'll see. Never know, because maybe your crystal ball is better than the rest of ours, but so far my crystal ball is terrible. That's why I have an investment advisor. Yeah, Delaney, did you have something? Okay, thank you. All right. Anything else so Karen, we had a couple of housekeeping items we want to take care of before we adjourn. What's that? Sure. Who's gonna do, you gonna do fireman A on the floor? Who's gonna do fireman A? Bill.
I have your name on it.
Okay. Thanks for that. I'll be happy to.
Drew to carry.
Drew to carry. All right. The rented mule.